What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Pop to Handle. I'm your host, Andrew Nicotola, your pop culture best friend. And as always, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. When I tell you guys, I feel like I was literally editing and recording last week's episode yesterday, and now here we are recording another episode again. This last week was so insanely busy, but all good things. Like, it was busy, but it was all in good spirits. You know, if you follow me on social, if you're subscribed to the Substack, you know there's been so much going on in my world in the last week. But if you are not and you were just a podcast listener, let me bring you up to speed really quick, because it was definitely a week that was too pop to handle. So I was editing last week's episode, and I got a DM from somebody on Miley Cyrus's team saying, "Hey, did you get your invite to the Spotify event tonight?" And I was like, "No, I didn't. But no, did not receive that." And by the grace of God, I was able to get myself together and get downtown fast enough to attend Miley Cyrus's Something Beautiful and Spotify special fan screening. And so I literally got the invite an hour and a half before it started. And luckily, I was close enough to be able to get there and make it all work. However, I didn't even know what it was going to be because I never got the actual invite. I just knew that there was an event going on. It was something about Miley's new album, Something Beautiful. And I was like, well, I mean, if Miley's there, I'm there. Duh, hello, I have to be there. So I go to this event, and none of us really knew what it was going to be. And we ended up getting to watch the entire visual album from start to finish with Miley. It was insane. But we're going to go more into that in just a little bit. So that was Tuesday night. It was crazy. And then also in the last week, I finally got to see Sinners, which I feel like it's just the movie on everybody's lips. And when I tell you, it is so beyond worth the hype. I don't think the hype is big enough, actually. I know people are going to see this movie 3, 4, 5, 6. Somebody commented on my TikTok about it and said they are seeing it for the 12th time this weekend. I was like, oh my God, you win. This movie is not getting enough hype, even though it's already getting all of the hype in the world. It exceeded every single expectation and then some. I laughed, I cried, it was suspenseful, it had a few jump scares. It was just everything you want in a movie all in one. It was perfectly done. If you have not seen Sinners yet, please make sure you get to your AMC, to your Regal, whatever movie theater it may be that has an opening. Because I know that they've been crashing the AMC website. Every time they put up new screenings, literally the website crashes. Nobody can get a ticket. It's been insane. So I'm not going to spoil the movie because I do know people have been having issues getting tickets. But let me just say, first of all, Michael B. Jordan is the finest man alive. And number two about Michael B. Jordan, he is one of the most talented actors of our generation. He was unbelievable. This is not a spoiler, but he plays twins in the movie. Very Lindsay Lohan, Parent Trap, very much the double feature for the two of them. And the way that he was able to portray two different characters that were so alike but so different at the same time, and really acted as if it felt like it was two different people playing these parts. That's how good he was able to portray these two twins. But everybody in this movie, seriously, was unbelievable. Haley Steinfeld was great. The actress who played Annie, oh my God, her name was slipping my mind, but she was great. The actor who played Sammy, this movie was just perfection from beginning to end. It kept me on the edge of my seat. I didn't know what to expect next. I didn't know where it was going. It was so insanely good. And like I said, it just crossed, I think it was the sixth horror movie in history, to make $200 million at the box office. But it deserves $700 million at the box office. It was so incredibly good. I want to go see it again. They're playing it in 70 millimeter film at some theaters, and I want to try to get a ticket to go see it because I feel like seeing it in film setting would be so cool. Just go see this movie. Believe the hype. Believe what everybody is saying. It is unbelievable. Also, last week, I went to the Grand National Tour, which is SZA and Kendrick's tour. It was incredible. I feel like I've been talking about this tour for so long. I remember when they announced it, we covered it, and I talked about it on Substack. And when I got my tickets, we were talking about it. And then, everybody was dragging the tour when it first kicked off, saying SZA's mic was off and this and that. And I'm just here to say, everything people are saying online is so falsely just a false narrative. Like, this show was so good. It was so much fun. The production was great. The dancing was great. SZA sounded great. Kendrick sounded great. There were certain parts during the show where Kendrick was rapping, and I've seen him before. My boyfriend and I have seen him together before, and we like looked at each other and we were like, holy shit, like he was rapping so incredibly fast. I was like, how does somebody do this? Like, how does somebody's mouth move this fast and make words that you can understand what he's saying and go so fast? He is seriously such an insane talent. And I mean, SZA is just always going to be one of my faves, and watching the two of them, like their charisma on stage together, it was really cool to like see the way that they would perform together and then hand off. And when SZA was performing, it really felt like it was just a SZA show. Like, she really commanded the stage and made it her own. And then likewise with Kendrick, when Kendrick went on and he was performing, you forgot it was co-headlining. Then the two of them would come out and like have this magic on stage. It was so much fun. We had such a good time. I'm so glad I got to go. And the tour just started a few weeks ago, so it's definitely making its rounds now. I know they were just, I want to say like in Boston or something like the other night. So they're definitely making their rounds. So if you can get tickets, if you've been thinking about going, do not listen to everybody on TikTok who are posting the 3-second clips that maybe it was a mess up because God forbid somebody's not perfect all the time. Go see this show. It was so much fun. And I really think it was like a once in a lifetime tour. Like, the two of them together, it was just like witnessing greatness. And I loved it. I was living for every single second of it. And then I was also living for every single second of last night, Monday night. I went to go see Rachel Chinariri, which you guys know is my girl. I love her. She's just so fabulous and so cute and so fun. And I love her music. And you could just tell last night how much fun she was having on stage. And it was only her third show of the tour, I want to say. Third or fourth. Yeah, third show. And she seriously was just like, you could just feel the energy and the excitement of her being in the States again and like headlining her own tour. And she had some issues last summer. She was supposed to do some shows here and they had to cancel them because she couldn't afford to travel, because touring makes you pretty much no money. Like, it's just not a big market for people to make money in, and it just wasn't financially responsible, I guess, for her to do it. So you could just tell that she was so excited to finally be back in the States and performing for us. And she even said last night the US has been her biggest market since she debuted, which I was honestly shocked by. I figured London, the UK, where she is from, would be a bigger market for her, but apparently the US is. So it was so much fun. Everybody in that crowd seriously just had such good vibes. Like, it was just such like a happy, positive experience all night long. Everybody was dancing. Everybody was singing. It was so much fun. And that room was packed. Like, the room was sold out. It was at Webster Hall, which I've been to dozens of times in my life. But this room was like more packed than I have ever seen Webster Hall in my life. It was so incredible. And again, I've been rooting for her for so long. Her album came out last year. If you haven't listened to it yet, you are missing out. And I'm just so excited to see what's next for her and like watching this come up for her. It was fabulous. And yeah, that was my week. It was busy. And there was even more sprinkled in. Actually, I was on my friend Erin's podcast, which I don't know when it's coming out. I thought it was coming out today, but I think it's going to come out tomorrow maybe. But that is Shy Girl Sentiments Pod. You can go check that out. We talked about the Met Gala and just some other pop culture things. I went to a Cosmo and Doechii party. Like, I just had so much going on the last week. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I am quite literally the definition of too pop to handle this week. And you know what? I loved it. But enough about me. We are here to chit chat about some pop culture, some music, and all of the other fun little things from the week that were just too pop to handle. So without further ado, let's get into our Drew releases, our new music releases from last week and our new music releases coming up this week. And I just want to start out by saying I apologize. I had some releases that they were on my radar, but I like didn't have the date. I didn't realize it was this week or last week. Like, my dates have been all over the place now that I'm unemployed. Like, I don't look at a calendar really ever right now because I don't need to, unfortunately. It's actually kind of like bad. I'm like trying to be better about it. I missed somebody's birthday the other day. I like missed that it was like the day of the week. I've truly just been so like, oh my God, what date is it? What day of the week is it? So we're working on it. But there were some releases that I was excited about this year that I completely missed because of this lack of consciousness for the date. So we had Pink Panthers who released Fancy that last week, and also Maren Morris released Dreamsicle. And the only reason I realized Maren Morris released is because somebody actually commented on one of my TikToks and requested that I covered it. So I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to dive into it, but I want to give them like full, give them full chances to listen through. So I will get to listening to them. I apologize. By next week, we will cover them. The only release from last week that I have to chit chat about is Miley's More to Lose. And if you were listening to last week's episode, you know that I said I was going to post a reaction video to this song, but I said that before I knew I was going to see the entire visual album. So it just felt kind of like fake if I posted a reaction video to this song that I already heard a few days earlier and I didn't want to like, you know, take away from it. So I figured I would just save it for the show. What a fabulous song. She just sounds great. She sounds wonderful. We're going to talk more about Something Beautiful in a little bit in like the main segment of the show. Miley is the woman of the hour. So we will get more in depth into like the event, the album, the visuals, not with any spoilers, just a heads up. Like I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody because I don't want to ruin the fun. The album comes out next week. So like we'll have plenty of time to chat about it once we do that. I'm in the middle of planning a album breakdown episode with another podcast. So I'm very excited to do a pod swap with. So look out for that. But that being said, this song and the singles that we have gotten from Something Beautiful so far are so polar opposite from where the album goes. And it's so fun to like know what happens on the rest of the album. But also like what we're hearing from these first 3 singles is the first 3 songs on the album. And after More to Lose on the album just starts to take this turn that like, I wasn't even expecting. Like, I don't think anybody would have expected where this album goes from the first 3 songs that we've heard. And just trust me when I say it is so good. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We will chat more about the album in just a little bit. We also had Lizzo, who released Still Bad Animal Style. And we're going to talk about Lizzo in a little bit as well in this marketing thing that she is doing. However, I really like this. And I was talking about last week how she went to Pieces after the Met Gala. It turned out she was there filming her music video, which I thought she was just filming the music video at the Met Gala and like after in the streets. But she fully like brought the camera crew into Pieces, which Pieces is a small gay bar. Like I don't know how she fit a camera crew into Pieces while there was a full drag show going on. She did it, and Pieces is featured in the music video, which is really cool. And this is like a demo version of Still Bad, which is the single she released a few months ago. And she's doing this thing on TikTok right now. And again, we'll talk about it in a little bit, where she's teasing unreleased songs. So I'm really curious like where this goes for the album. But I like this. I thought it was cool to like see another version of this song come out. And it was like, she's saying it's the version that she wanted to release, but the label kind of switched it. And we'll get into my thoughts on that in a little bit. But really liking this. I'm really excited for this new Lizzo era. I've been really liking the singles that she's been putting out. And I just think it's like, she's really in a place where she was like, she did her healing. She did, you know, she went through a lot. And I keep saying it every time we talk about her releases, but she went through a lot of shit in the last year and a half in between her albums and her tours and whatnot. So to see her now releasing and kind of in a better place, she looks great. She sounds great. Loving everything we're getting from Lizzo. And then just for releases for next week, we have Kesha releasing Boy Crazy, which is the 3rd single, I believe, or 4th single we're getting from her upcoming album. And if anybody knows, is it period? Is it dot? I don't know how to pronounce the name of Kesha's album. Like if anybody out there knows how we're supposed to refer to this new album that Kesha's dropping in July, please tell me. And like, I don't know. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if everybody's feeling this. Is it period? Is it dot? I don't know what I'm supposed to call this album. But that being said, we have Boy Crazy coming out on Friday. I'm very excited. It sounds very like early 2000s Kesha. Like she had a lot of demos that leaked like back in the day, and it sounds very reminiscent of that sound. So I'm very excited for this. I've really been liking all of the songs we've gotten from this album so far. So I'm sure I'm going to like the album as a whole. It just feels fun. It feels like a party album. And honestly, like it really is just giving me like all of the summer party vibes that I'm like ready for. Like I'm ready for summer. I'm ready to be out. I'm ready to dance. And I feel like Kesha is really going to come through on this album. But if somebody could just tell me how I'm supposed to refer to it, how do I pronounce it, that would be wonderful. And moving right along into our moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, some pop culture rapid fire, kicking it off with some of my favorite type of news about Lorde and news about concerts. Lorde has announced her tour. It's called the Ultrasound Tour. And as you can imagine, I am over the moon excited. So she sent out an email last week and said, I'm going on tour in support of my new album, Virgin. Every show that I play is a collaboration between you and me. We meet in a room and we make music together, our bodies and the machines in search of something bigger together. 12 years of meeting up and making sound that's just for us. Since the last time I've been stripping away unnecessary layers, finding us more room to move, and I think that Ultrasound could be our masterpiece. I'm very proud and excited to be bringing my most talented friend to support. Tickets are on sale May 16th, pre-sale May 14th. Come see what's under the skin. So I feel like she's really ready to just like make us dance for this tour. I'm really, really looking forward to it. Like I said, tickets go on sale on May 16th. The pre-sale is May 14th. Some of the openers includes Japanese House, Chanel Beads, Blood Orange, Empress of, Jimmy Stack, and Oakloo. I apologize if I'm butchering that. The tour kicks off in the US and Texas on September 17th and runs through October. Then she hops over to Europe in November and ends the tour in December. And I am so excited for this tour. Lorde shows are some of my favorite shows in the world. Like I've seen her a bunch. Probably one of the artists that I've seen the most. I went to, I think, 8 melodrama tour dates. Like I went to a lot of melodrama shows because they were just so much fun. And then I did 2 shows for Solar Power, both of the shows in New York. And it's just always such a good energy, so much fun. She has such like a electric persona on stage. You can really tell that she just like loves to be performing, and she really does make it her own. It's not like it's a show where it's like the theatrics and, you know, she has dancers and stuff, but it's just different. As you would imagine with a Lorde show, she's a very unique artist. So very excited for her to be performing. She's doing the Garden, which she's never done before. So I'm so excited to see her at Madison Square Garden. That being said, I am terrified for these Ticketmaster queues because the way that TikTok is just like blowing up concerts in general lately, and like everybody needs to go to every show and everybody's in the queue, and let alone everyone wanting to go, all the scalpers and the bots. Like it's crazy out there for us concert people trying to get tickets right now. So I am terrified to get tickets for this show, but you guys know if there's a will, there's a way. I will be there. I'm not missing a Lorde tour. She is literally one of my favorite artists of all time. So it's just like not an option for me. But we will see, you know, how this plays out. She's also playing Red Rocks, which is really exciting. And I've always wanted to go to Red Rocks. And I always said Lorde is the artist that would get me to Red Rocks. So I think I need to put my money where my mouth is and potentially book a flight to Colorado later this year. But we'll figure that out, you know, as the year goes on. Right now, I am just, you know, focusing on getting tickets to the New York show, and then I will figure everything else out as, you know, time goes on. But very excited to see that Lorde is hitting the road. Her album comes out in just about a month. We're like a month and change. June 27th it comes out. So I just cannot wait. Very curious if we're going to get another single before then or what we're going to get, you know, in anticipation for it. So we will see. But, you know, I'm always excited to talk about anything about a concert, anything about Lorde. Also, I just realized I haven't mentioned in a while, but if anybody is new here or doesn't know or needed a reminder, if anybody ever wants to save a little bit of money on a concert ticket, you can head over to SeatGeek and use code 2POP at checkout and save $20 off your first order. I love going to a concert, and I would love if anybody listening was able to save a little bit of money when they were going to a show on my behalf. So head over to SeatGeek, use code 2POP and save some money on your next show. And moving right along into our next moment of the week, that was just too pop to handle. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce have been spotted in Philly this weekend on Mother's Day. They were spotted at Tallulah's Garden in Philadelphia with Kylie Kelsey, Jason Kelsey, Donna Kelce, and allegedly Andrea Swift was there, but I didn't see any photos of her, but people were saying that she was there. She just wasn't photographed. But regardless, very exciting. We haven't seen Taylor and Travis together in a few months. It's been, you know, hush hush as they do. Taylor likes to go undercover when she's not working, so I'm happy that she's been able to kind of stay out of the public eye. However, them going to just like a regular restaurant for Mother's Day was very surprising to me. And like, not that they're above it, you know, nobody's above going to a regular restaurant. I don't care how big of an artist you are, but they were just like sitting at a table. Like they didn't have a private room from what I could tell. I think they were a little bit like in the back, but like they were very visible to the public eye. So it wasn't like they rented a room or did anything. They were just like out for Mother's Day brunch at Tallulah's Garden. So I guess they were just trying to, you know, just tone it down and have a very chill Mother's Day, which is very exciting. Like I said, we haven't seen Taylor out in a few months, so it's exciting to see that she is, you know, alive and well and thriving. She looked very cute. She looked very regular, like literally just like not like a pop star at all, which is what I think she strives for. She's like, when I'm not in pop star mode, I'm not in pop star mode. I'm not dressing up cute. I'm not doing the whole glam. Like her hair was done, but it wasn't anything crazy. Like she was like, no, I'm literally here to celebrate Mother's Day with my boyfriend and his mother and his family. And like, that's it. I honestly would have pinned them as more of like a Mother's Day at somebody's house kind of event, you know, like get a catered brunch or do a barbecue or something. But seeing as they were in Philadelphia, I'm assuming they were like seeing Kylie and Jason's new baby that they just had at the end of March, I want to say. Yeah, it was like March they had their baby. And obviously like they're not going to host Mother's Day 2 months after, less than 2 months really, after she just gave birth. So like it does make sense that they went out to a restaurant, but I was just shocked to see them just like out and about doing their thing. There was a picture, I don't know where it came from. I couldn't find out like the exact source, I just kept seeing it on Twitter, but Travis had had an American Eagle shoot a few weeks ago, and she made Pop-Tarts for everybody on the shoot, like literally homemade Pop-Tarts, and said like, enjoy your shoot or good luck on your shoot. Here are the flavors, whatever. So she's definitely emerging a bit. Like she's definitely Taylor. If she doesn't want to be seen or like heard, she's not. Like she's very good at keeping a low profile and not being seen, not being, out and about. Like if she didn't want people to know that she was like sending these Pop-Tarts to somebody's shoot, she wouldn't have wrote the whole note in the sign. If she didn't want to be seen for Mother's Day, she would have found a way to get a private room for everybody or a private door to go in and like not be seen. So this is definitely, I hate to say it, but she's very calculated in a good way, not in like a negative, like she's not to say mastermind, but she knows what she's doing, which leads me to my next point. Taylor updated her website the other day, and now the categories on her store spell out AMAs. It says apparel, music, accessories, and sale. And to that, the AMAs are next week, which are the 26th. And there are 12 items on her website that are 26% off, which 26% off is a very peculiar amount. Like that's very interesting. It is just 13 doubled. However, there are, I think, like 30 something items that are 13% off. So she very well could have just done 13% off or like whatever, but 26 just feels so specific. And the AMAs are on May 26th. So now everyone's kind of like, okay, this seems like an Easter egg that she actually would do. And I've said time and time again, Swifties go crazy with these Easter eggs and they really look way too deep into things. Like I always just think back to like the 5 holes in the fence. Like that wasn't even an Easter egg and people read so deep into it. And this seems like an Easter egg. Like this is something where I'm like, okay, this is very Taylor Swift coded. This is something that she would do. And it just feels reminiscent of like past eras when she would do things like this. And of course the AMAs are very special to Taylor. She did that performance of The Man. What was that? 6 years ago, I want to say? 7 years ago? 6 years ago. It had to be 2019. And she was wearing that white button down with all of her stolen albums on it. And there were all the kids around her that were representing all of her albums that she didn't own anymore. She performed The Man, which is also obviously very representative of like what she was going through. So the AMAs definitely have like a special place in Taylor's heart for that reason. And it's the first time they're doing the AMAs in like 3 or 4 years. I want to say it's been a minute since they did the last one. So this seems like something could happen at the AMAs. Taylor's not confirmed to be there. Like there's nothing, other than her being nominated for some of the awards. Like it's not like she's performing or presenting or anything that we know of. But I have eyes on the AMAs this year. And I think since it is their first award show back in a few years, I think they definitely want as many eyes on it as possible. I know they're bringing J-Lo back to host it. She hosted it a few years ago, I think like 2016, 2017. So they're bringing her back to host it. Janet Jackson just got announced this morning as receiving the Icon Award, which is very exciting. So they're definitely bringing out some big names to really try to get as much viewership as possible to this award show. So I'm curious to see, what goes down and what happens with Taylor. And like I said, this is an Easter egg that feels intentional. Like the rearranging of the website, the 26% off, like something about this does seem very pointed and very Taylor Swift coded, So I'm very excited to see like what is in store for the AMAs in just a few weeks. What do we have? Wow, we're 13 days away from the AMAs. How peculiar is that? That is very strange. But yes, we will see. Very exciting to see that, Taylor might be cooking something up, or she might just be cooking up Pop-Tarts for Travis's shoot. Who knows? What we do know, though, is that Wicked for Good press is happening. Yesterday, Monday, was the NBC or Peacock upfront, and John M. Chu announced that there will be a Wicked live musical special starring Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo set for this fall on NBC. They also showed the Wicked for Good trailer at the upfront, which I know they showed the trailer the first time for the upfront as well. So this is just like typical for Wicked, what they did the last time, they're going to do it again this time. So I think it's safe to say that we're probably going to get the Wicked for Good trailer within the next like 2 to 3 weeks max, I would just assume. However, I'm very excited for this concert special. He announced a special on Monday, as I said, at Radio City Music Hall. He said, this fall, our stars, the wonderful Cynthia Erivo and the incandescent Ariana Grande, will be joined by their castmates and some wonderful surprise guests in a one-time only event from the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles. They will perform live many of the songs from the first movie and maybe a little bit from the second one as well for a night of entertainment that we think will be, as they say in Oz, thrillifying. So Wicked for Good comes out on November 21st, and this event is going to take place before that. So I'm assuming probably early November it'll happen. It's supposed to be live at the Peacock Theater and then be streaming the next day. So very excited to see what is in store for that. Even just thinking, like, every time Wicked has a big anniversary, I always just think of like Wicked 15 when they had Ariana come out and do The Wizard and I, and like they had all the past Glindas and Alphabas do all those performances. Wicked is such a special community and like a little corner of Broadway, or a big corner really, if you think about it. So there's just so much that they could do with this, and I'm really excited to see how they, plan this out and who they bring out. And obviously they're going to have the cast there, but I'm sure they'll have Idina, Kristen, and tons of other people that are involved in Wicked. So I'm very excited for this. Very excited to see, what is in store. And like I said, Wicked Press is now. I am so excited to have another Wicked Press tour. I truly had so much fun covering Wicked last year on the podcast and like looking at all the premiere looks. And I remember that whole episode I did talking about all the fashion that they did and all the references. Like, that was so much fun. And I'm so excited that we have another Wicked Press tour on the horizon. I cannot wait. I am so excited. But more about that, as we go and as we get closer to November. And moving on to our next moment of the week that was just too pop to handle. Miss Charli XCX is up to something, and I am incredibly seated for whatever it is. So yesterday morning, she sent out a text blast to her community number, and it was a photo of the video camera that's on the cover of How I'm Feeling Now, her album that came out in 2020. And then she unlocked her private account, which is 360_brat, and posted a photo with the camcorder, and then it swiped to a video of her running with balloons. It said Thursday ... And then she, like I said, she unlocked it. So she told everybody, go follow it. It's open now, and locked it an hour later, which is such a fun marketing strategy. And is very reminiscent of like when Billie did the close friends thing, or we're going to talk about Lizzo in a second. Like, I'm loving this strategy that we're seeing, the way people are using social media for these marketing tactics. But so everybody's assuming we're getting the Party For You music video. Again, it is 5 years later, but it's very like Cruel Summer treatment, which I'm very excited for. And I love the fact that it's kind of, we're seeing artists not being afraid of breathing life into past eras when it feels right for them. Like, just because Charli released Party For You 5 years ago, or Taylor released Cruel Summer now 6 years ago, and now it's having a moment, why not dip back into it and, dare I say, reheat your nachos, as the kids are saying on Twitter. It's just like, I love that they're not afraid to like really play into that. And we're seeing it with a lot of artists nowadays. Like, when a song blows up on TikTok, they're taking it out of the vaults, let's say, and like making it a remix or doing a music video for it, like Charli's doing, or just like releasing it as a single and just like letting it have this second life, which I think for a while, that wouldn't have flown. Like, that wouldn't have been something people would have done. That would have been like, you're a flop. You're trying to bring back a song that came out all these years ago. But we're really seeing a new generation of like appreciating music and the longevity of it, and not just letting an album cycle die after the album cycle and moving on to the next one, which I think also speaks to what Charli was saying a few weeks ago on TikTok, when she was saying that, like, I don't want to let go of the Brat era yet, but everybody's telling me I have to move on to the next thing and crank out a new album and do something new. And now that we're able to see her have this, resurgence of Party For You that's been out for 5 years, and release a music video and have this big moment, and it's charting. And even like we're seeing with Lorde, like Ribs was charting for the first time ever a few weeks ago. Like, we're seeing people kind of giving these songs a second life, and it's cool to see, because for a while that's not something that would have happened. And without TikTok, honestly, it's not even without social media, it's without TikTok, point blank period. Without TikTok, that wouldn't be a thing. And it is really cool to see that we're able to relive these songs and give the song a second life, or just like, maybe it's a song that the artist at the time didn't think deserved a music video or deserved to be a single or anything, but seeing that the fans are picking it up and really like running with it, it kind of gives them a new lease on that era or whatever it is. So it's cool to see that this is something that is happening so often now. So very excited to see what Charli is going to do with the Party For You video. Obviously, the whole thing with How I'm Feeling Now in 2020, I mean, we're all locked inside, and she wanted to release something to just kind of feel more connected to her fans. That was when she was doing all those like Zoom DJ sets and all that. Remember, she did the one, it like went viral. She was like, "Grinders here." Like, that was so funny. So yeah, to see like an album that came out in a time where the world was quite literally in shambles, and now it's getting a second lease on life 5 years later when the world is reopened, and maybe people just weren't ready for how I'm feeling now when it came out and it was underappreciated, and now we're going to see a resurgence with it. It's cool to be living in this era of music and seeing it. And on the topic of this era of music and, these private accounts and things like that, Lizzo, I kind of teased this a little bit earlier, but our next and final moment from the week that was just too pop to handle, Lizzo made a private TikTok account that is Lizzo IRL, and she keeps locking and unlocking it, very a la 360 Brad. And Charli's not the first person to do this. I mean, Lana Del Rey's entire Instagram was private for years, and it was like impossible to get into, a honeymoon. And like I said, Billie did the close friends thing, and we're seeing artists and their teams really find a creative way to make it fun for fans on social media without just posting a reel and being like, oh, here's my song. It makes it kind of like a exclusivity thing. It's fun. But Lizzo made this TikTok account, and she's been opening it and closing it every few days to let more people in. And she started sharing these new songs that her label isn't allowing her to release. Now, whether or not the label is actually not letting her release these songs, I don't know. However, it is genius to be promoting it this way and kind of like get, people riled up. It all kind of started with the Still Bad Animal version. She was like, oh, my label, I like this song, this version better. And the label said no, but I'm going to release it anyway. So, it kind of gave her that idea of like, she's a bad bitch. No one, she doesn't care what the label says. She's going to do whatever she wants. Obviously, that's not how the music industry really works. However, it is a genius marketing tactic and I love it. She's also sharing some like rap songs, and she's saying that, oh, my label wouldn't let me drop this. That I think is so smart because now she's getting feedback from fans on the account being like, do we like this? Do we not? And she kind of has us in like almost like a case study. Like we're able to kind of give her an idea of like, if we like this, if we don't, and she can now use that to release it as a single, to release it at all, put it on the album, not put it on the album, or maybe she's just doing it to just like get us excited for what's to come. I don't know. Regardless, it is working. I am loving it. I think it's so much fun. And it's really cool to see that like artists are kind of playing into this social media side of the music industry in a new creative way with accounts like this, with 360 Brat, with Lizzo IRL, like being able to kind of create a community within, the fandom that they already have. And, it's kind of like, if you know kind of thing. Again, obviously these accounts are all made with the team in mind and things like that. Like it's not just like an organic strategy. Like we're smart enough to know that, but I think it's a really fun way to get people involved and get the hype built up and kind of like, again, it gives that like exclusivity to being in a fandom and like, oh, I heard this snippet when she leaked it on her account last year and now it's coming out. It's just like a fun way to get involved. So I'm loving this, but I'm very excited to see like how Lizzo goes about this and what she takes from this account and what gets put on the album or what doesn't get put on the album, kind of to see how she uses this, to get her leg up with the fans and kind of, leverage it that way. Very exciting. I think it's a very smart move for Lizzo to do. And that wraps up our moments from the week that were just too pop to handle. Now, before we get into our main course, our main event of the episode, if you will, I just love to remind you guys that if you are liking what you're hearing and you're enjoying the show, go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It really is the best way to support the show. And I've been seeing you guys, you're leaving ratings, so I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much to everybody who has left one already. I've been seeing them slowly go up. So I'm like, all right, they're liking what they're hearing. So I really appreciate it. And it takes truly no time at all. You're already in the Spotify or Apple Podcast app. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit subscribe, hit the like. There's so many ways to support the show without spending a penny. And just thank you guys again for all the support and all the feedback. I've really been appreciating it. And I'm excited that you guys are loving the show so far. And speaking of the show, let's keep this show going. Moving into our main segment of the show, like I said earlier, Miley Cyrus is the woman of the hour. So we're going to talk about her Something Beautiful event. Like I said, I'm not going to spoil the album at all. I don't want to ruin this experience for anybody because I would hate if I was listening to a podcast and they were like, I heard this album and here's exactly how it sounds. And then you kind of get this like premeditated idea of like what the album's going to be. So we're not going to do that. I'm going to talk about the event. I'm going to talk about the album sonically. I'll give you guys my favorite songs and I'll give you some tidbits from the visual album, but not too much because again, I really want everybody to be surprised as I listen to this. And then we're going to chat about Miley, Billy, and Tish, because I'm sure you guys have seen the news this week. There's been some rumors swirling on the internet, some statements being made, which is very out of character for Miley to do. So we'll chat about that in just a little bit. But first things first, let's talk about Miley Cyrus's album Something Beautiful and the Spotify event last week, because this event was so incredibly well done. And now, this was not my first time going to an event with Spotify. I've been to a few before. Most notably, I went to like Ariana Grande's I Was Sweetener when she did the like Sweetener session exhibit, where it was like the museum kind of thing. You could walk through and take photos. Each room was a different song. So Spotify is always really pulling through. Oh, I also went, oh my God, I forgot. They did a Happiness Begins carnival for the Jonas Brothers back in 2019. And they literally rented out an entire pier space and made a whole carnival for the album release for the Jonas Brothers. They had rides, they had t-shirts, they had drinks, they had food, they performed. Like, it was so cool. I forgot all about that. Wow. Spotify really comes through with their events, and this one was no exception. They had open bar for us. They had snacks. We got popcorn, candy. They had soft drinks for us. We got free t-shirts, free tote bags. Truly just like every little detail they can think of. It was at this little tiny theater downtown, so it was really intimate, really, really cool, really well done. Seriously, like, hats off to you, Spotify. Whoever is on Spotify's events team kills it every single time. Even with like the events I haven't gone to, when I see people posting them on social media, I'm like, they just know how to put on an event. It is so impressive. And that's coming from an Apple Music user. So like, you know, obviously I am a bit of a traitor in that sense, but I have to give Spotify their flowers where flowers are due. But this album, like I said earlier, this album is truly, nobody knows, like nobody's going to expect or like know what's going to happen for this album, because it really takes such a wild turn. And it's not that the album sounds completely different as you're listening to it. I don't want you to think it doesn't feel like a cohesive body of work, but it definitely, like, from these first three singles that we've gotten, like I said, they are the first three tracks on the album. And then it's broken up into acts, and there's interludes that kind of like bleed the songs together. So it really does create a cohesive sounding project and a really full rounded body of work. But it really just goes from like 0 to 100. And I don't say 0 to say these beginning songs are a 0 on a scale, but like from these like kind of slower ballads. I mean, Something Beautiful has this like rock experimental feel to it. So you kind of get an idea of what's coming later in the album. But just like from End of the World and More to Lose, and like it really is giving us kind of different sounds that you wouldn't really see how they tie together, but it really just comes together so beautifully. I was saying, I posted a TikTok and I posted it on Instagram Reels, so I have a review of the event there as well. So I apologize if this is redundant, but I was saying that this album really takes us on such a journey, and it almost feels like if you were to take Dead Pets and Endless Summer Vacation and they had like a love child, and then she put little sprinkles of bangers in there. Honestly, I would even go as far as like a little bit of Plastic Hearts too, because there's like a 80s rock kind of grunge vibe to some of the songs too, and like in the production style, it's just a really, really unique sound, but it's so good. There's like disco elements. There's, like I said, like that 80s rock grunge. Like there is really such a cool sonic sound to this album, but like they also can work in a club. Like some of these songs are going to hit at the gay club. Like I could not wait to be on the dance floor and hear Walk of Fame, or hear like some of these songs that just like have these like disco elements to them. They are so much fun. Seriously, like I was blown away. And like the visuals, the sound, everything about it is just, it was fabulous. I'm obsessed. So my top three from the album from the first listen were Walk of Fame, Easy Lover, and Every Girl You've Ever Loved. Granted, I was watching and listening to this in a movie theater without my phone, without like any way to like remember what I was hearing. These are just like, when I was watching it, these are the three that really stood out the most to me. But the album really didn't have a skip on it. Like I wasn't bored at any point of the event, of the album. It really does keep you engaged the entire time. I'm so excited for everybody to hear it, and I can't wait to listen to it again. Like the fact that I got to listen to it almost a month before it came out, and now I have to go a month dry without listening to it again. I'm like, wait, I want to revisit that. Like there are certain lines in the songs or moments in the visual album where I'm like, I want to replay this over and over and over and over, and I can't do it until May 30th. And I'm just so excited for this album and this visual album to finally be in everybody's hands. It's just so good. And as far as the visuals, they are stunning. Like, they seriously did their big one on this visual album. The looks are unreal. The sets are crazy. The visual effects are so good. There's some cameos in these, which I'm not going to give away, but there are some cameos that I was like gagged over. Seriously, I saw one of the cameos and I literally gasped. I was like, oh, no fucking way. Like, and you'll know what I'm talking about. And we'll talk about it when I do my episode about it. But like, seriously, they went all out for these visuals. I'm so excited. A lot of the questions I was getting about the visual album is if it is a cohesive kind of movie or just like music videos kind of fragmented together. And it is a bunch of just music videos that can stand alone but do go together as a visual album. But they do make sense. And they don't necessarily like tell a story of a movie, but when you're watching the visual album as a whole, they do kind of bleed into each other. So like they can stand alone as music videos as standalones, but when you watch them all together, there are certain elements that do bleed in from one song to the next, which helps to like give it that cohesive, well-rounded body of work like I was talking about earlier. And when it doesn't bleed, visually or sonically, there's like I say abrupt and not in a way where it like throws you off, but there's like a clear divide in the tracks, and like especially visually, there's certain like transitions between each song that are going to really make it clear that like, hey, we're moving on to something else, but it still works. Like they did a really good job with the track listing and the way like the run of show for the visual album and the album itself. Like it just works so well. And I don't remember exactly if every song bleeds into each other. I don't think so. Because just listening to like Something Beautiful, End of the World, and More to Lose, they don't bleed into each other right after each other, I don't think. But like then there are some songs that do bleed perfectly into each other. It's just so good. It's so well done. I'm obsessed with it. I love it. I am so excited for the world to hear this album and just get this new idea of who Miley Cyrus is as an artist. Because I was talking about it a few weeks ago when I was doing like my Miley Cyrus dedicated episode, and I kind of went through her entire career and her discographies, how, people kind of undermine her as like this Disney star, the girl who was licking a hammer and wrecking ball. And like, I feel like a lot of people don't realize the artistry and the talent that she has, and they kind of just like leave it surface level. And I really think this album can really take her to that next step of like, oh my God, no, she is not one to mess with. Like she is a force to be reckoned with. I just love her so much. This album is great. I'm so thankful that I got to go. Thank you so much to Miley's team for inviting me, Spotify for throwing this event. It was fabulous. I seriously had the best time, and I cannot wait for this album. We are so close. Oh my God. And before I move on to the next thing, I literally missed this in my notes. There is a moment. This is a bit of a spoiler, but I'm not going to give away what it is. But I just want to be on record on the internet saying this. There is a moment in the Walk of Fame music video that is going to gag everybody so incredibly bad. When this part played at the screening, the entire theater screamed. Like, and you will all know. You will know exactly what I'm talking about. But I just want to be on record, on camera, on mic, saying that I called it before everybody else sees it, because it happened. And I looked at my friends, we all looked around to like everybody, we were like, did we all just see what just happened? Like we were gagged. It's so well done. I'm so excited for this album to come out. And now we can move on to the news from the week, the next part of the segment. A big week for the Cyrus family. Let's just leave it at that. Big week for the entire Cyrus family. And I've talked about the Cyrus family a few times on the show, when everything went down with Noah and Tish, when everything happened with Billy Ray and the voice memos that got leaked. I mean, we all remember the inauguration a few weeks ago with Trace, with all the stuff with Katy Perry and tying Miley into it. And I mean, there's definitely an interesting dynamic within the Cyrus family. And I am not a member of the Cyrus family, believe it or not. I know, shocker. So I don't know their relationship offline or anything. Nobody knows what's going on behind the scenes, and nobody knows the real story. We know what the tabloids are saying. We know what they share with us. But the fact that Miley made a statement this week regarding everything going on, I was like, all right, something's happening with this family where like they're really trying to mend some broken pieces within the family. And I just thought it was really interesting. And since we've talked about them so much on this show, and as things come up, I mean, when Trump made the statement about Miley and Billy didn't stand up for her, and then he performed at the inauguration like a bumbling fool, and just, all the stuff with Tish and Noah and everything going on. I just thought it was like, it made sense for us to kind of cover this because I know I've kind of been keeping you guys in the loop. So if you did not see last week, there were rumors that Tish, Miley's mom, unfollowed Miley on Instagram because there was a photo of her, Billy Ray Cyrus, Brayson, and her boyfriend Max that they shared. And of course, Tish and Billy have had a very rocky past. And, you know, he said things, she said things, she's now remarried, he's now remarried. You know, there's been a lot going on with them. So people were like, oh my God, Tish unfollowed Miley, and Miley always was, you know, besties with Tish. The two of them are like connected at the hip. And, you know, that's kind of been the side of the family that she sticks with. And Miley took to her Instagram story and said, my mama and I are too tight for anything to ever come between us. She's my best friend. And like a lot of moms, she doesn't know how to work her phone and somehow unfollowed me. Simple, coincidental, and uninteresting. Now, I'm not going to sit here and argue this statement. Whether it was intentional or an accident, that is not my business. I do believe that it was probably an accident. Like she said, most mothers don't know how to use Instagram. They're just on there to like a photo, to post a photo, maybe post a story if they're feeling crazy. So I'm sure this was an accident. However, it is crazy timing for that to happen with everything going on with Billy Ray. So like I said, they celebrated Brayson's birthday with Billy, with Miley, with Max, which is huge. The fact that they were all together, especially after the last like year and change that Billy Ray has had in the public eye with the inauguration, with his wedding, with the voice text that got leaked. Like there's been a lot going on with Billy Ray revolving around his family. So I mean, to see all of them together was definitely like, whoa, this is crazy. People thought it was an old photo. People didn't know when it was from, but lo and behold, it is a recent photo. And then Billy posted on his story, he said, I'm so proud of Miley and her guts and her courage, her wisdom and strength to bring it when our family needs it the most. We are so close to fully healing. We have all been through it a lot. We've all been through a lot, excuse me. On this Mother's Day, I would like to testify a couple of facts. One, I still very much believe in the power of prayer and respectfully ask if you do also, and have an extra prayer for the Cyrus family I humbly would accept. I must also add, as I witnessed just yesterday before 60 Gold Stars family who had a lot of sons and daughters in service of our country, please put a prayer in for them also, or give them mine if need be. Our family can heal. We are still there. Those families have suffered a loss that cannot be replaced or changed. And then 2, Tish Cyrus was and is the definition of a strong mother. Trust me, I'm the first to admit, being married to me is not easy. I'm a very good at making mistakes, and I'm a very imperfect man. But thank goodness, somewhere along the line, my mama also taught me that life is a series of adjustments. Yup, being honest here, since I was a kid, I had to learn the lesson the hard way. Funny how history repeats itself full circle. So there's definitely some inner workings going on with the Cyrus family, between Billy and Tish, between Miley and Billy, between, I feel like, just everybody. And at the end of the day, they are all family. And when you think back to like the early days of like Twitter, like Miley would post family photos and they were all together. Miley, Trace, Brayson, Brandy, Noah, everybody. Liam was there. The dogs were there. Like everybody was there. It was like a family affair. They really used to function as what we saw as a normal functioning family to what we knew. Of course, in Hollywood, it's going to get a little crazy, but over the years, shit happens. And I mean, Miley's been through her things. Everyone's been through whatever. So it's clear that like Billy is clearly having this moment of like clarity, like seeing, he said the 60 Gold Stars family who lost their sons and daughters in service of the country. He must be like realizing that like, hey, like I have my family in front of me. My family is still here and alive. Like I need to make amends with them and make things right, which I think is admirable. Do I support his political, stance and him performing at the inauguration and the things he said about Tish and Miley? Of course not. I think, it's very, when you're an adult and a grown man, like you really do have to own your shit. It seems like he's understanding the mistakes he's made and like owning up to it. However, like some of the things he said and done are inexcusable. But again, I'm not the one he's looking for an apology. Like he doesn't need me to forgive him or anybody but his family. So it doesn't really matter what the media says, what fans are saying. If Miley and them are all on good terms with him, or they're trying to, mend what has once been broken, I think it's really admirable for them and to see this whole family kind of coming full circle. And like, just like he said, we're coming full circle. And I mean, just thinking of like all the things that have gone on with the Cyrus family. I mean, Tish and Noah had their whole falling out because Tish is now married to somebody that Noah was once involved with. And Billy at the inauguration and making all the comments about Miley, and Trump saying, how'd you end up with a daughter like that when you're such a level-headed man, or whatever he said. They've definitely had their like fair share of crazy kind of finger pointing moments to each other. And like, this person said this person did that, this person did this, da da da. Like they definitely haven't always been 100% functioning, if that makes sense. And again, this is not my family to speak about. Trust me, my family is just as dysfunctional as this. So I know, like, I get it, but it is interesting to see the way that they're all able to kind of move on from these things. And if they are truly able to move past these things, you know, it's hard for sure. And I mean, families are difficult. I mean, families are hard to deal with, but I think it's interesting and it's admirable to see them kind of trying to make this work, and for Billy to own his shit and be, you know, he said so many negative things about Tish in the press that was leaked, things like that, for him to be like, hey, you know, I'm the first to admit it, I've made mistakes and I've been doing this my whole life. Like, maybe he's having a change of heart, maybe he's not, who knows. Again, I'm not the target demo for this. Like, I'm not the person he's looking for forgiveness from, and none of us are. None of these fans, none of these tabloids, none of the media, whatever we think, it doesn't really matter. If Miley and them want to forgive Billy Ray for this, if they all want to mend their family and, you know, make things right once again, I think good for you guys. Again, it's not my family to say, but good for them. I think this is something that the Cyrus family needs. And I think the Cyrus family has had such a crazy, I mean, there's been divorce and there's been this and that. There's been so much that has happened with them, and they've been in the public eye pretty much their entire lives. So there's no doubt that, like, there's big personalities and there's big things that are going to happen. So to see that they're able to kind of overcome these things, I'm really curious to see, like, what's next for them and how they heal from this, if that makes sense. And I also am very excited for whenever the day comes that we get a Cyrus family documentary, because there's going to be so much that we don't even know about behind the scenes that I think they are going to just, like, fill our cup so incredibly high with so much behind the scenes stuff that we don't even know that happened. And when that day comes, I will be the first one seated, watching and chatting about that documentary with you guys right here on the podcast, because my God, that is, like, one of the things on my list that I'm like, one day we're going to get this documentary just a tell all on the Cyrus family from day one up until whenever the present day is when that comes out. And I cannot wait for it, but I will be patient because I know that there will be more that needs to be added to this documentary. And for that, I cannot wait. And that wraps up our main segment of the show. I just love when Miley is the main event of the hour. I could talk about her for hours. I just love that diva. And I'm so excited for this album. Seriously, you guys are not ready for what Miley is cooking up in the studio. And if anybody does want to hear any of the, like, spoilers, I guess, for the album, or, like, special cameos, things like that, feel free to DM me. It's not like I won't tell people what's going on if somebody asks. I just don't want to be the one to spoil it, you know, on a podcast or tweet it or something. But if you want to know, feel free to DM me. I'm happy to discuss the album further in depth with you guys, you know, offline via DMs and things like that, because I'm not going to be the one to spoil the album for people. But just know you are not ready for Miss Miley Cyrus. Oh, I cannot wait. And for the first time in about 4 weeks, we have a TV recap this week. I am so excited. RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 10 is here, and I am so excited. I will say I did not watch episode 2 yet. I've only watched the first episode. I'm going to watch it later this week, and then I'll watch the third one, and we'll recap both episodes next week. But I did watch episode 1 because I wanted to obviously chat about it with you guys. I just didn't have time to watch both episodes. I've been very busy, as you know. But let's get into it, because this season also is very different than anything we've seen on Drag Race before. So obviously, they're doing the tournament of All-Stars. So there's these brackets. There's 3 different groups of girls. They're all competing in different episode sequences. And then at the end, we get 9 girls competing for, like, an All-Stars typical season is what I'm assuming. And I like this. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun switch up. I think especially with Drag Race and, you know, any reality competition show, you kind of have to spice it up every so often. It doesn't always hit the way they wanted to. Like the dunk tank this season, I was like, I didn't love that. The chocolate bars a few seasons ago, I was like, all right, this is fine, but, like, didn't really, you know, there's certain things that Drag Race does where I'm like, this is just to tickle RuPaul's fancy. And, you know, he wants to see Michelle Visage get dunked in water. So now we have a dunk tank on the Badunka Tank. That's what it was called on Drag Race. You know, there's certain things where I'm like, what? Like, huh? But this I do like. And I do like the point system. I think it's a fun way to kind of do a leaderboard. You know, with Drag Race, there's no leaderboard other than who's winning and who's ahead. But, like, we know that, like, that doesn't always matter in the end. Where this, a track record truly does matter, because that's the only way to get points besides the 4 points that you get to pick, you know, at the end of the episode. But, like, to get the bulk of the points, you really have to win. So this is a really cool way to really show a physical track record. However, it's very reminiscent of the beautiful benefactress badges from last season of All Stars. So I'm curious, like, but there was a twist with that. You know, there was definitely like a switch up at the end that kind of made it anybody's game. So I'm sure RuPaul has something up her sleeves to kind of, you know, change the game a little bit. But I'm very excited to see how this pans out. And I like the fact that we're not seeing all of the girls at once. I think it's cool that we're kind of getting them in doses because it's going to feel like a new season every 3 episodes. So it's definitely going to give us like a breather with the girls. And then once we get all of them back together, it's going to be like, oh my God, wait, yeah, I forgot that we had all of these. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see kind of how they all come together and like who from each, you know, group gets picked. But obviously we are focusing on just the first group right now. I will say I really missed seeing the girls walk into the workroom and get surprised by who was in the cast. Like that's one of my favorite parts of every Drag Race season. The beginning episode, the premiere, when all the girls walk into the workroom one by one and it's like a surprise of who's next. I really missed that. And I didn't love the like presentation this season, them walking out on the runway. They looked great. Visually, I loved the way that they looked, but I didn't love that as the entrance. I wanted, you know, an entrance line. I wanted them to walk into the workroom and the girls to be gagged and, you know, to really give us that like Drag Race feeling. But again, they do have to switch it up every few seasons, so I understand. But that is one thing that I'm like, oh, I can accept a lot of change with Drag Race, but that was one thing I was like, I hope we don't continue this for All-Star seasons as we keep going, because that is such like a fun, crucial part to a Drag Race season. I feel like, you know, like your entrance line, your entrance look, and kind of just like seeing everybody's reactions, especially on All Stars, because they already know each other. You know, it's all girls that they've met before, they know. So it's like even more exciting because you're sitting there. It's almost like you're returning to summer camp and you're seeing all your friends from last summer, you know? But whatever, it is what it is. It didn't take away from the season. It was just one thing I noticed where I was like, damn, I missed that. So we have Aja, Deja Skye, Olivia Lux, Phoenix, Irene the Alien, and Bosco in this group. And this week they are challenged with writing a verse for Winner Winner Chicken Dinner, a new rock song from RuPaul. And the runway theme is slits and tits. So we're going to go through the runway. We'll go through the songs and then we'll go through the lip sync. So the runway was slits and tits, as I said. First up, we had Aja, who was kind of giving like a Jinx Pokemon fantasy. I didn't dislike this look. I thought it was cool and thought it was fun. And Aja does kind of play into that like cartoonish anime kind of look. I didn't think she looked bad. However, I was like, I wanted, like, the boobs looked awkward the way that they were there. Like, I think she should have went really big with them to really go into it. I mean, the theme was literally slits and tits. Like, go big with them. I don't think she looked bad. I wish, and Ross, I believe it was, said this on the judges panel, like, I wish the purple skin tone matched her better as a whole. There were some parts where I was like, is it purple? Is it gray? Like, it didn't fully cover the right way, but she didn't look bad by all means. I thought it was fine. Next up, we had Bosco, and I loved this look. She looked stunning. I mean, she just looks so incredible this season already. It's one episode in and I am already buying everything she is selling. I loved the zippers along her like arms and neck. I loved the zipper thing in her hair. It was so cool. She looks stunning. She looks great. I'm so excited to have Bosco back on the season because I really think she's going to give us a killer All-Stars package. Next, we had Deja Skye, which this dress was really pretty and she looked great. I just wanted more of like a drag element to it. Like I wanted more tits. I wanted more slit. I wanted more. She looked great. It was a good look. I just was like, okay, you can kick it up a notch, but you know, it's the first runway. It is what it is. She still looked very good. Olivia Lux. I loved this look so much, and I actually just saw, as I took like a break to sip my water, she posted that like she got this look not finished and she had to finish it herself with a few sewing materials and like get it together. And I loved this runway. I thought she looked fabulous. I love the Lil' Kim reference because it was so easy to like clock the reference, but also like she made it her own. It was so well done. She looked great. I loved this look. Another look that I loved was Miss Irene the Alien. I'm really excited to have Irene back. I didn't necessarily love her on her season because she was only in for one episode, but just seeing what she was posting over like her looks after when she got eliminated, and I feel like just even this first episode, she showed us such a strong side of herself. I feel like she is also going to deliver a crazy good All-Stars package, and I'm so excited to see what she has in store. Also love this rebrand from Irene Dubois to Irene the Alien. I think it fits. I think it's really cool. Loved this look. It was so drag and so over the top and so big and so silly. She was green like an alien, but had this like giant, almost Vegas showgirl moment behind her. It was so good. I loved this look. And finally, we had Phoenix. Now, I didn't hate this look, but I didn't love it. It was fine. It wasn't anything crazy, but we have to remember that like Phoenix, I mean, they reminded us over and over again on the episode, but like Phoenix comes from a very old school style of drag. And, you know, she was on Drag Race season 3. We are now on Drag Race season 18 coming out next year. Like, it's been quite some time since she's been back on Drag Race. So it definitely goes to show like the sign of the times and how when she was doing drag and doing Drag Race, she was doing this and this and this. And now drag has evolved to this. And she'd been performing and, you know, she does her own, you know, she does her thing. But it's interesting to see her up against so many. I mean, I think everybody else on these, everybody else has been, at least Aja was season 9. So everybody else is season 9 on. She's from season 3. Like, that's such a gap in how long it's been since she's been back on the show. So I'm curious to see how that helps or hurts her. I don't think she looked bad. I thought it was a cool look. I just thought looking at the rest of everybody else's looks, I was like, okay, it kind of fell a little flat for me. However, I did love the fact that she clapped back at Ice Spice the way that she did on Instagram. So Ice Spice was a guest judge this week and she said she wasn't loving her look. And Phoenix literally was like, you know, I have 25 years of drag experience. I'm not going to let Ice Spice come on here and tell me I'm not good at doing drag. And to that, I say, absolutely. Because she is good at doing drag. She's great at what she does. I just don't think this runway was like the strongest look I've ever seen in my life. But I do appreciate that she was like, yeah, I'm not going to let Ice Spice shit literally all over me because that's not what we're here to do. We then get to see the music video, the live performance rather, of Winner Winner Chicken Dinner. Definitely an interesting start. Like, making these girls come on All Stars and do a rock and roll track is not something I think anybody could have predicted. But you know what? Hell yeah. RuPaul keeps these girls on their toes, and this is exactly what this was. It was fine. It wasn't, am I gonna like replay this song over and over? No, it's just not my cup of tea, but I thought it was a fun way to kind of get a different side of these girls and really like put their talent to the test. What I'm curious is if like each round of girls are going to have the exact same challenges. So like the second bracket of girls, are they going to do the same song and the same idea? Like, is it going to be the same runways and same everything each bracket, or are we going to see different things? I don't know what I would prefer, because on one hand, I'm like, if we're seeing all 3 brackets do the exact same challenges, that is the most fair and consistent way to see who gets to the final round. But it would be cool to see them all do different things and kind of show different talents. But I don't know. I'm curious to see like how that's going to work out. So I guess we'll have to wait a few weeks to see how that goes. And the song was good overall. I definitely think that Aja and Irene were the best. I thought they were definitely the most standout. I thought Bosco looked phenomenal. I loved that hair and like the caution tape. I thought they were great. Olivia sounded wonderful, but just like Michelle said, it was almost like too sweet and not enough rock and roll. But yeah, I thought the song was fine. It wasn't anything to go crazy, go home about, but I thought it was a fun way to kind of get the girls out of their element. So just like I said, Aja and Irene were the best and they were the top 2. So they lip synced to Thank You the Shit Fart by Ice Spice. And hearing RuPaul sit up on that judges panel and say, prior to tonight's Maxi Challenge, I asked you girls to prepare a lip sync to Ice Spice, Thank You the Shit Fart. That was truly something I never would have expected to hear in my life. And RuPaul fully just wanted to do that, to say shit and fart on RuPaul's Drag Race. And you know what? It's RuPaul's world and we are just living in it. RuPaul really takes All Stars and just uses it as his way to do the crazy outlandish shit that he wants to do. And I think it is so funny. I mean, obviously we had Daytona Wind a few seasons ago where everyone was just farting between every single line. But like All Stars Ru and RuPaul's Drag Race Ru are 2 different divas. And you know what? I love a girl who can do both. So we see them lip sync to this. Aja ends up winning, which I do agree with. But I will say Irene was turning it. Like, she was doing very good. She also looked gorgeous in that green beat. Like, I loved the hair. I loved the makeup. She looked stunning. I really feel like she's really going to give us a run for our money this season. But I do think that Aja did deserve the win. So I'm very happy to see that. And that is episode 1. Like I said, I did not watch episode 2. So I apologize there, but I will catch up and we will recap 2 and 3 next week. But I'm very excited for the season. I'm excited to see, you know, as the girls come in and as we kind of rotate through the seasons, and it'll be nice. It'll be refreshing, you know, to really have like a new group of girls every few weeks to just kind of like refresh us, and then get a whole mishmash group of girls by the end of it, and then kind of go from there. So very excited. Also, it seems like this is going to be a long season if we have 9 weeks of preliminary, and then we have 9 girls at the end, assuming it might be a top 4. So maybe it'll only be, I don't know. It just seems like it's going to be a long season if we're doing it like that. Unless they do like double eliminations and a top 4, then it can kind of cut it down a bit. But curious to see more so how we get to the end and how that works. Also, once we get past the preliminary rounds, are the girls going to be competing the same way? Is it going to be a point system, or is it going to be typical all-star rules? You know, like, is it going to be the bottom 2 lip sync and then somebody goes home? Is it going to be a point system? Curious for that as well and how that works. So I guess we will see and time will tell. Maybe they said this in the first episode and I missed it. I don't think they did because I feel like I would have picked up on that. But regardless, very excited that All Stars is back. Very excited that we have another Drag Race season to be recapping on the show. Love Island comes back very soon as well. I think like the first week of June. So I'm going to watch it. I didn't recap it last season live because I wasn't watching it until like halfway through. And Love Island is a lot because it's on every single night. So I'm not sure how I'm going to go about that recap, but I do want to recap it. So I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that yet. I'm trying to figure that out now because again, it's on every night pretty much. Maybe I'll do like, I don't know. That's for me to find out and you guys figure out. We'll get there. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But that being said, we have made it to the final segment of the show. It is time for our yes and our mess of the week. My yes being something I am loving and my mess being something I am not loving. And we always start things on a high note here at Too Pop to Handle. So my yes this week is no other than Lea Michele on Therapist. And now hear me out. Lea Michele is not a perfect person. I can admit that. We all know that. She has had her issues in the past. And we can fully deep dive on that. Actually, no, we can't because I'm not going to get into it. But I love the fact that she has taken the route of joking about herself so much because for so long, and I think a lot of the reason why she got such a bad rep in the media and with fans, she acted like she was too good to be funny or to joke about herself or to be laughed at. Like she didn't know how to laugh at herself without feeling like she was getting made fun of. And that was never really the case with all the rumors of her not being able to read and this and that. And like, she was like very diva, which like, yeah, you're talented. Yes, absolutely. And I loved Glee. I loved Lea. I saw her in Funny Girl. I've met her a bunch of times. And I will say, I'll go on record and I have no problem saying this. I have heard horror stories of people meeting Lea Michele and her being like the devil. She has never been anything but so incredibly kind to me. And I have met her 3 or 4 times, I want to say. And every single time, seriously, every single time, she has been nothing but lovely. And that could just be, I caught her on lucky days, but, and I'm not just, crediting anybody's experience with this diva, whatever. But she has truly been nothing but nice to me every time I have met her. And it's been in different settings every time. And it never changed that. So that's just my experience, but whatever. So she was on Therapist this week, Jake Shane's podcast, and they were obviously talking about Lea Michele not being able to read. And I think this is like the final boss at the end where we can finally put this rumor and this joke to rest and be like, all right, Lea Michele can read. Let's put this behind us and like move on from it. And that's kind of what it felt like when she was discussing it, because she just seemed so not unbothered by it, because she was laughing at it. Like clearly, not that it bothers her, but like she laughs about it. She thinks it's funny. But I do think for a while she didn't feel that way. And seeing her kind of make these jokes now and be able to laugh about it when for so long she definitely was not. That was not the case. And she even did that bit. Was it the Tonys? Some award show. I forget exactly what it was. She did the bit where she like had the envelope and she was like, hey, can you read this for me? Like she plays into it now. She jokes about it. And I just think seeing like where she was at a few years ago and like so like everyone thought she was a diva and thought she was this, thought she was that. She wouldn't even like make a joke about it, and seeing her kind of come full circle with it. I'm sure like being a mother and, just like being on Broadway again and like getting her dream role and seeing like what can happen if she kind of fixes her act a little bit. I think that really has helped her a lot. And just seeing that kind of evolution was very impressive. And it was a really good episode of Jake's podcast. I don't listen to every episode of Therapist. I listen usually when I like the guest. I don't listen every single week. But this was a very good episode and I really liked it. And I just love that Leah Michelle is in a place where she can like laugh at herself and joke about herself, because I think for a while we were losing her and we were like, she's a little, she's going off the deep end and we don't know how to bring her back from Diva Land. Moving on to our mess from the week. Now, this is territory I usually would not dip my toes into, because this sounds rude, but like I just could care less about 21 Pilots. Like, I understand they have a huge fan base. They make good music. Sure, they're just not my cup of tea, and that's not a drag to them. They're just, you guys know what I listen to. They are never going to be the music that I am into, and that's okay. That is fine. However, I saw on Twitter this week that somebody stole their drum from their show in London, I believe it was, literally picked up the drum from the floor and walked out with it. And so I was like, what the fuck is going on? So my friend Kyle is a really big fan of them. So I was like, all right, I need you to explain this to me. So if you are like me and do not, dip your toes in the 21 Pilot lakes, basically, at the end of every single show, they close the show with a song called Trees. And the two guys in 21 Pilots, I believe, what are their names? Josh and Tyler, the two members of 21 Pilots, they go into the crowd and they like, one sits at the piano, one has a drum set, and like they have everybody move off of like this big red square. And at one part during the song, everybody runs in and like fills it. It actually is really cool. And like there were videos of it that my friend Kyle sent me of like over like bird's eye view of it. And it was really, really cool. But I guess the drum was like left on the floor and no one picked it up yet. So a fan literally picked this drum up off the floor and walked out of the arena with it. And in the video, this girl is like, what are you doing? I don't think you should be taking that. And she's like, no, I'm taking it. I'm taking it home. This is mine. And they were like, you should not take this drum. Like, this is not your property. And it's literally like a 21 Pilots branded drum. It like is, I guess their colors are like red and yellow from what I could guess. And it has like their logo on it, like fully the drum that they use every single night. She picked it up and walked out with it, which how do you have the audacity to do that and just steal that? A musical instrument. It's not a drumstick. This was like the head of a drum. How do you have the nerve and the audacity to do that? 2, how did security not stop her walking out, not even of the venue? She should not have been able to pick it up in the first place. She should not have even had the chance to get that close to this drum, because they should have picked it up when the band members left. And 3, what were you going to do with this? Just sit it in your, like, it just doesn't make sense. I understand like a drumstick, things like a guitar pick. Yeah, you can put in your phone case, you can hang it up, you can put it in a scrapbook. What the fuck are you going to do with a drum head? Riddle me this. It just makes no sense. I will say, I was so invested. I was like looking up 21 Pilot fan accounts. And this was like territory I truly have never crossed in my life. Never once. And I was literally so invested. I found like one of their tour managers' Instagrams, followed it. And then I was like, oh my God, they got the drum back. So they were able to get the drum back. I'm not sure how. I haven't seen like a story time about how they got it back or how they got in contact. But like, it do take nerve to fully steal your favorite band member's drum head. That is insane. When I saw this video, I was like, this has to be fake. Like, they must have given it to her. Like, there's no way she just picked it up and walked out with it. But lo and behold, she picked up this drum and walked out with it. But I'm very happy that it got returned back to them. And I'm very happy, they are, though I don't listen to them, I do know that their fan base is like hardcore, and they're very good with their fans from what I know. And like, I have a lot of friends who are very invested in their fandom and like love them and like have been going to see them for years. And so I do know that they are a very like a fan first kind of band, which I do appreciate and I do love. And like I said, it's not that I don't listen to them because they're not good. It's just like not my cup of tea. So I can appreciate them for that. This was just crazy. I was like, what the fuck is going on? What do you mean you stole their drum? Insane. Unbelievable. And with that, we have made it to the end of this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Too Pop to Handle. If you liked what you heard and you're listening to us as a podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever your podcasts are available, go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating. It would really mean the world to me. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you go ahead and hit subscribe, hit comment, give me a like, all the things you could do on YouTube except for dislike and except for unsubscribe. If you would like some extra moments from the week that were just too pop to handle between episodes, go ahead and subscribe to my Substack. I have it linked down below, but it is just toopoptohandle.substack.com. I send out a weekly newsletter every single weekend with some extra moments from the week that were just too pop to handle. So if you are looking for some more pop culture to fill your cup, maybe you're going to brunch and you want to have some fresh pop culture news to share with the girls at brunch, or, just to keep in your back pocket for a rainy day, we have a lot of fun on Substack. It's one of my favorite things that I get to do every week that's just fun. I love writing and I love connecting with the audience there. So if you are not already subscribed on Substack, go head over there. It is free, costs $0. And if you would like to follow me on social media, we are at Too Pop to Handle across all platforms. My personal is at Andrew Nucatola across all platforms. And I think that's about it. Yeah, that is everything. So with that, I will catch you guys next week. Bye.